Welcome to the Wrexham Coffee Matchup. I'm Dave.
And I'm Courtney. Each week, we'll take a few minutes to catch up on the latest news from Wrexham. From matchups to transfers, on and off the pitch, we'll share our takes on it all.
So grab a coffee and join us.
Hey, Dave, welcome back.
Hey, it feels like forever since we've seen each other, doesn't it?
It does. I think it has only been 1 week, but it feels like it's been somewhere between 10 and 100 years, somewhere along that timeline. A lot has happened since then, but I don't know, I feel like we should maybe address the bad news first. What do you think?
It's kind of obvious to people when they notice that we're back to our usual setup, right?
Maybe. You have been, I would say we, but I think it's much more you have been a bit of a good luck charm, let's say, for the team, being at matches and us playing very well. And you did not, in fact, actually surrender your passport and you were back home.
Yeah, but it's funny because I went back into the club shop after the Portsmouth match to buy my program. And the same gentleman behind the counter who I fake surrendered my passport to was behind the counter again. And he looked up and I said, just one program. And he said, okay. And I said, and I won't give you my passport again. He said, I thought you looked familiar. But I will say that the interactions that we had with people in the club shops, in town, just random people that we met on the street who came up to us because of our American accents. That was some of the loveliest conversations I've had across the board with Wrexham locals, with foreigners, with employees of the places. It seemed like they just really, really appreciate and enjoy the visitors coming to the town and have gotten used to the fact that we all come here specifically for this reason, to support this town, to support the team, and because we all love this team. And so, I mean, I don't know if you got that same feeling. I'm sure you did, but
I did. You could just really, it's a town of good people.
Mm-hmm.
And you could really feel that. Yeah.
My favorite interaction was the gentleman who followed us out of the restaurant, out of the Ukrainian cafe.
Not intentionally.
But he then came up to us and he said, excuse me, do you mind if I interrupt you? And then proceeded to talk to us for 20 minutes about in multiple locations around town as we were going the same direction. And he noticed that we were both wearing our Ollie Rathbone and Have My Children sweatshirts. And he said that, oh, my daughter really wants one of those. But the fact that she's 17, she doesn't understand why it's inappropriate.
I have to say I am much older than 17. I still feel a little bit strange wearing it. I do have to say.
But I mean, he was one who had moved away from town and was back visiting his mother and just astounded by the way the town has changed and has been reinvigorated, and just the energy and happiness of the people in the town, which is so nice to see.
Yeah, and really just so genuine and kind, and gave me a great tip about some hiking. So
yes. So on the next trip,
forward to that.
In better weather.
I was going to say maybe not in a January, February time window, but
yes, I've been there in April and August. They're both very nice times of year to explore the countryside.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah. So we did have a busy week. A very busy week. I have two very brief news updates, even though, like you said, it feels like it's 100 years since we recorded. These two things did happen since we last talked. One was we got the news that Ben Sheaf looks like he's definitely out for the season with his injury.
That injury happened while we were at the Ipswich Town match, right?
Correct. And so he got his analysis and looks like he'll be out for about 10 weeks. So that was really unfortunate because he has just made such an important contribution to the team, really centering the midfield. So it was sad to see, but I mean, we've already started to see a little bit of the lineup shifts to fill the hole. So we can kind of talk about that and how it's going forward, but we will be sad not to see him back. And just when You finally learned how to recognize him
I
in the
was
crowd.
so I was going to say, look, not to make light of his injury or the situation, it does give us a new opportunity to maybe really be able to identify Dom Hyam, because there won't be any confusion of could that be the chief?
At least when they're on the field, right? There might be other occasions.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other news that was very exciting news was that two of the three Chaos kids in the middle of the field, Ollie Rathbone and George Dobson, both signed contract extensions.
That
which is
definitely happened before. That was just in this last week. That's not
It was,
possible.
it was in the last week. It was before the Portsmouth match. And it was just a great sign that we're going to continue with the energy and enthusiasm, because we've talked about all year long.
And utter
just
chaos.
what they bring. And when
Yeah.
you throw Lewis O'Brien into the mix, you just never know what you're going to get on the field. And it's in a wonderful way. And
But
so
in
it's
the
good to
best
see.
way.
In the absolute
Yeah.
best way. But
Yeah.
I did enjoy watching this sort of the post commentary, the interviews with them afterwards. And I think Dobson particularly was very excited to sign the extension, because there was really question of whether he could cut it in the championship, because he had many,
Okay.
many years in League One. And so he was a really, really excellent League One player. And they're like, can he do it? And he's clearly shown that he has what it
Yes, he
takes.
can. Yeah.
And so he maybe even, making our way to the Premier League soon. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we shall see. But
Let me find
yes.
some wood to knock on.
Yes. So we had two big matches this week. So do you
We
wanna
did.
start
And you
taking
were
us
there
through?
for both.
I was there for both. I was there.
So
yes.
first up, the Portsmouth match at home still. And it was interesting because watching it through a screen and you watching it there, we both got a sense that there was a big energy shift compared to Saturday
Right.
versus Ipswich Town.
Right. And I think we later found out that the energy
The
shift
reason.
was due to a virus that had gone through the team
Yeah.
and left multiple players with stomach bugs that was pretty nasty. And apparently Sam Smith got sick at halftime and had to rally together to continue for the 10 or 15 minutes before substitution in the second half. You would never have known watching the first half. And just the energy. I mean, we had just amazing energy and enthusiasm through that first half. And we took control. We maintained control. We had beautiful goals from Sam Smith and from Max Kluwerth. And it really looked like at one point, someone in the section I was sitting in turned to me and said, "This is going to be a 5-1." And we thought, oh, maybe. But then we went to halftime.
It's a 2-1.
But, the team took a little bit of a step down in energy at halftime, and Portsmouth scored.
Understandably.
And Portsmouth scored really early in the second half.
Yeah.
And the momentum did shift.
Which is always scary,
It is.
right?
It
Because
is.
that's happened the last couple of matches, and you never know where it's going to go. I mean, we've done very well against it, but I think kind of after the fact, learning what the team had gone through, it's kind of like the way that we managed to keep our claws on that victory is actually pretty impressive.
Right. And I think that when it took some time for us to recover the momentum, but we did get it back. And so it's not like we had to just hold on for dear life for the entire second half, especially by the time that Moore and Rathbone came in around the 70-minute mark. They were able to renew the energy. And Ollie Rathbone almost he had this beautiful, beautiful attempt that hit the crossbar that had that gone in, that just would have been like another feather in Ollie's cap. But it's still
Sure.
like, I mean, we played really well. I mean, I noticed there was a dip in energy in the stadium as well, compared to Saturday's match. But the Saturday Ipswich match was probably one of the most exciting matches you could have had.
Yeah.
So it'd be hard.
I think the fact that we also had the surround sound of the Wrexham fans and the Ipswich Town fans, I know that you were still close to the action for the match versus Portsmouth, but I think the location probably also, was definitely playing into that.
It did make a huge difference, because I was sitting in the dugout, which is where the players used to sit up until the beginning of this season. And so on my right was the Portsmouth fans. and they were pretty vocal and active. The drummers that we sat in front of were sort of across to the right. So they were coming at us from this way. But to the left of me was the whole lager stand that was pretty quiet. I mean, there were moments of enthusiasm, but it was more just, I don't know if it's a Tuesday, and so it's an after work thing. It was definitely colder. It was hard to muster the
Yeah.
enthusiasm. In the first half, it was exciting, but the second half, it got moments of quietness that just seemed to kind of carry through, even to the online conversation, which was a little more subdued this week than on
Hmm.
Saturday. But
Yeah,
it's interesting. You,
agreed.
you mentioned perspectives, right? And
Hmm.
so you're watching at home, and I was pretty much sitting in the first row, right at midfield, right?
Not pretty much. You were actually in the first row because I actually saw you a couple of times as the
Right.
camera was going by.
I learned I shouldn't have worn the same color as the seats, because then I could have stood
But
out.
the great part. So yeah, when there weren't that many people there, I could barely tell that there was a person there because you blended in with the seats. But when there were all of the people there, you were the only person wearing, or one of the few wearing red
Right,
as an
right.
outerwear. So you did stand out when there were people around you.
Right. So to watch the game from pretty much field level gave me just a very different perspective from how it looks on TV. And we know
Mhm.
that it
But
depends on where
also,
you sit. Yeah.
I was going to say from the middle because we were at field level
Right.
on Saturday as well, but we're watching from an end, right?
Right. And so I got like this really wonderful view of the midfield
Hmm.
players. And so like watching Kabore up close. And one, I mean, you're always amazed by just how quick he is and how responsive and how he creates these opportunities. But then I also noticed that there are moments when the action is elsewhere and he doesn't quite position himself where he needs to be to respond to the play. And so he's constantly being coached from the other players to shift his position. So like Max was telling him to move this way, move that way. Hyam was telling him to shift over a little bit. Windass was giving him instructions as well. And so he was really taking the feedback and adjusting very quickly. So it was kind of fun to watch those moments because you don't really ever
Hmm.
get to see that on television.
Or here.
Or hear, and you definitely don't get to hear. Oh, so, speaking of hearing, so I was sitting next to a group from Ireland, and they were over for a work conference, and so they came to watch the game. And there was a player, one of the strikers for Portsmouth. His last name was Blair, and he spent a good chunk of the second half kind of positioned like right in front of us, and kind of back and forth. They decided by that point they'd had enough beers that they were going to heckle Blair.
Okay.
And the first thing is you hear this nice Irish guy's accent coming out saying, "Hey Blair, where's Tootie? Where's Tootie?" and I turned to him and I said, "He's not going to know who Tootie is. He's way too young." And so to catch the facts of life references from the 80s. And then he kept calling him Blair Witch Project. And, it was funny to watch because he was getting under the skin of the guy, which was just interesting to watch, is that they
Oh,
weren't
wow.
just blowing it off, but it was definitely a different perspective. We could say that. So I will say the other thing I
Wow.
noticed just being right there, there's a lot of talk all season long about what Thomason has been bringing to the match. And really, he never stops. He is constantly moving and creating opportunities for players.
Hmm.
And I think that was something that we weren't expecting when he joined the team. And it's really fun to watch. It
Yeah.
was even more noticeable in I watched the replay this morning. I mean, he set up multiple attempts on goal for multiple players just by his speed, his quickness, and just being able to adapt to the play. And so it was really fun to watch that as well too. Yeah.
Nice.
Yes. So I will just say, sorry.
No, go ahead.
The last thing is I, as we mentioned, I didn't get in my lottery tickets. And so I did have to go in through the dugout club. So I was able to get a ticket in the hospital. Oh, shucks. Which was really nice. But I got there early, you have your hour or so beforehand. Like I got there right around when the players were arriving. So I got to watch the players arrive, which was great to see some of the new players up close who had not seen up close before. Got into a few of the pictures and the video that was
Yes, you
posted by the
did.
team. So it was kind of fun to watch that. But then you get assigned a table in the dugout club. And I got assigned what is the equivalent of the singles table at the wedding. Where
Sometimes that can be a very fun table.
So this time it was
I guess that was not the fact.
It was 4 international travelers who came to the game themselves.
Okay.
So I was from the US.
Bit
There was
pigeonholed there, but okay.
an older gentleman from Sweden who travels
Okay.
around Europe watching soccer matches or football matches. That's his retirement. There was a guy from Israel who's a huge Wrexham fan. So he had traveled from Israel to watch the match.
Okay.
And then there was a guy who was a Wrexham local who lives in Shanghai and was back visiting his family. And so it was just interesting to like have that perspective of people who travel to watch these matches. And then they sat us all together in the stand. But it was fun. I had to practice my small talk a bit, but it was interesting to learn just what brings people to these matches and what they look for, and so that was kind of a fun aspect of being sort of forced matched up with people that you don't know.
But also a good reminder of kind of what brings us all together and why we do this and why we watch and why we support.
Absolutely. Do you have any more thoughts on the Portsmouth match? Before we
No, I was actually going to say after Portsmouth, then you traveled down to London and you caught the Charlton match.
Correct. At the Valley, which is in southeast London. And it's quite an imposing stadium. I mean, you always hear on the television that it's a tough place to play. And then when you're actually in the stadium, you can kind of understand why. It's interesting. So they have this really nice museum in the stadium that's open before the game. And it takes you through their history from 1905 to present. And they've played on and off at this stadium since early 1900s. But at one point, it was this small wooden stadium that seated like 6,000 people. And then about 10 years ago, when they made it into the Premier League, 10 or 15 years ago, they expanded the stadium up to about 30,000. So it's a really densely tight in the middle of this town. And when their crowd goes, it is just loud and everyone's seated. It's a very steep stadium. So the players that are up high are still pretty close to the field, right?
Yeah.
Or the audience that's up high. So it's interesting to watch. And then Wrexham brought 2,000 fans who were all in the away end. At times, their cheering was as loud as the other 20,000 people in the stadium.
Wow.
And so
amazing.
It was absolutely amazing. So I didn't sit in the away end stand. Don't shoot me for that. I actually I had seats that was right behind the media seats. And so I actually sat right behind Mia and Andy. Without realizing it until halftime. So I had kind of the same perspective that they had on the game, which was also really fun to watch because it was like the up above looking down on the game, which was a fun way to watch. So what did you think of the actual match? Yeah.
I mean, great goal. Saturday, I think I said this to you, Saturday was a great day to be Ollie Rathbone. Though lately, I think any day is a great day to be Ollie Rathbone. I'm so impressed by him, and as many people are as well. And I think, again, second half starts, and there was kind of a group of us on Blue Sky that were kind of counting and holding our breaths to say, okay, is the other team, is Charlton going to strike here in the first minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes? We said, okay, now we're 10 minutes in, we're 15 minutes in, nothing's happened yet. It felt a little bit like we did shift at one point in the second half to just trying to hold on to that win, right? Charlton, they were like, all right, let's put everybody in and, try to do something. That late save by Arthur, I think I don't know, everybody just collectively gasped.
Right.
That was really impressive. I thought that was a very well-earned victory. But what was
Yes.
it like being there, and what was it like being there amid Charlton fans?
So being there, so I noticed it was very clear from perspective that Wrexham played as a complete team, right? So
Mhm.
the offense, the midfield, the defense, all working together, right? And you really saw that in the first half. Charlton has a really, really strong defense. So it seems like a lot of their results over the last couple of weeks that I was reading were the result of them out defending their opponents. So they
Okay.
were either able to, I don't think that they've scored many goals since Christmas, but they've prevented a lot of goals from being scored
Yeah.
against them, right? And so their defense played excellent and
Mhm.
really kind of helped counteract. It's what you were talking about. Like they kind of limited our chances. And
Yeah.
Ollie's goal was just this one chance that nothing could have stopped that. That was just amazing, right? But when it came time for them to get towards towards Arthur and to try to score goals, the team fell up. Charlton falls apart in the penalty box, and they just could not bring their offense into closing opportunities. And so
Yeah.
it was just looking there, the immediate thought in my head was chaotic. Their offense is very chaotic. And so I actually made a comment to one of our friends online, and I said, "This is like chaos." And he said, "Oh, that's the Nathan Jones effect." And apparently everything is everyone else's fault when they can't score. But he does put a lot into building strong defense. He's just
Mhm.
not building the strong offense that he needs to compete against at this level.
Okay.
So, yeah. So it was definitely interesting to watch. But I, sitting there, never felt like we were in threat
Yeah.
of losing the match. They might have drawn level, they might have tied, but
Yeah.
it didn't ever seem like they were going to put together two goals at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there weren't that many. I mean, there were a handful of opportunities, but even the shots that they had, I mean, except for that one in the, sort of end of the second half, it
Yeah.
kind of felt like, oh, all right, well, we're down here. I hope it's okay. But it didn't
Yeah.
really feel like,
Yeah.
hold
So
on to your chairs, guys.
they only had one shot on target, and that was the
Yeah.
save that Arthur made.
Yeah. I
And
think they
so,
had maybe 5 or 6 shots total,
right,
but yeah,
right.
only one.
And
Only
a
one
lot
on
of them were
target.
just wild
Yeah.
attempts at the
Yeah.
goals. So in terms of sitting around Charlton fans,
Yeah.
I've never experienced this in all the matches I've seen at Wrexham, where when the offense isn't able to convert, when they're missing their chances, the fans start heckling the players of their own team,
Yeah.
saying, "What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?" It's like in the second half, they were really starting to turn on their own players, and until they started getting more and more shots on goal, and then they were
Sure.
back in and then supporting them. So it was this weird kind of dynamic of we're there to support and we want us to win, but like if they're not winning, then we're angry with you, which is just a
We've
weird dynamic.
We've heard it through the screen a couple of times
Mhm.
through various opponents. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's a bit strange.
It is strange to me.
People
It is.
people can be supporters in different ways, and I understand
Yes.
that. For me, and the way that I'm a fan, that feels strange to me, but
Right. But I enjoyed the fact that I'm grateful I was able to go to another away match. I went to the Crawley Town match last year, which was a very different environment. That was like they didn't even have seats in
well,
the away end.
and you've seen Charlton play before, and that was an also very, very different environment because
Right,
you were
'cause
at Wembley
at Wembley,
for
which was
the
one of
playoffs. Yeah.
one of the most exciting games I had ever seen. So it's good to see. I like seeing the stadiums. I like the fact that I was able to go through their museum, look at their gift
Mhm.
shop. I just enjoy and sit in a different perspective and
Yeah.
watch the game from a different perspective. Unrelated to Wrexham, I also went to a game at Crystal Palace during the week, and had another view of a Premier League stadium and just kind of experiencing that. And so it's just fun to compare and contrast. And it just reinforces how much I love going to Wrexham and watching games at the racecourse, because it's just such a unique experience. And I'm sure that, we're all going to say we love it, but there's just something special about that environment.
It's a very special place. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And then now I'm back home, and
now you're back.
Yes.
Life goes on, but life is going to come. Life comes at you pretty fast.
It does.
We have a match next week, end of this week, against Chelsea, FA Cup 5th round.
Right.
After that, the week after that, starting on the 10th of March, we have 11 matches in 53 days.
Okay.
We have, I think in 3 cases, we have around a week in between the matches, but most of them are every 3 to 4 days. So hold on to your hats, because for the next 2 months, we are going to be back-to-back matches.
Well, I know we have 4 matches in that 11 days right after the Chelsea game. And so that's a really important, busy time, including Hull City, who's in 4th place. And so that's going to be a key match.
That was quite a first matchup. So
yes. Yeah. And Hull City between now and then is playing Ipswich Town, and Millwall, who are both ahead of them. And so what they come into on our match with them is going to be an interesting perspective. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So on the Chelsea match, so it's the 5th round of the FA Cup, which, reminder for people who watch it on television, in the US, it's on ESPN Plus, not on Paramount Plus. And in the UK, it's on BBC One. So it's getting primetime television slot on BBC One. The last time we played Chelsea in a competitive match was the 4th round of the FA Cup in 1982.
All right.
And only 2 years have we ever been in the same league as them, when we were both in the 2nd division, which is the equivalent of the championship, in 1979, 1980, and 1980-81. So those are the only times we played them in league competitions. And then we last played them in 1982 in the FA Cup. Now, we have played them more recently.
As a friendly.
Friendly in San Jose in summer of 2024, which I was able to go to. It was a very exciting match to be around 38,000 people. But this time, Chelsea's coming into the racecourse. And so hopefully we see a repeat of the Nottingham Forest.
That would be great.
We have a Premier League team that comes in and we show them what we can do. Yeah. And we have...
It's going to be...
It's going to be exciting. It's going to be very exciting.
It is.
And Wrexham, if we win, we would move on to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup.
Yeah.
And we have only been to the quarterfinals 3 times in our history. The most recent being in 1997. So that would be the furthest accomplishment, and something that hasn't happened in 30 years almost. So,
yeah.
Nice.
Yes. All right. We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Let's buckle up and
keep everything crossed. That's right. Absolutely. Well, that's all we have time for. Thanks for joining us this week. Please like, comment, and subscribe.
You can also email us at wxmcoffeematchup@gmail.com. All one word. That's wxmcoffeematchup@gmail.com. Or you can follow us on Instagram and Blue Sky at wxmcoffeematchup.
From the cop to your coffee cup, that's all for today's Wrexham Coffee Matchup. Keep it brewing, keep it red, and as always, up the town.